everyone tunes Kafka in the wrong place. When a pipeline is slow, teams reach for broker settings and bigger machines, yet in most real clusters the broker was never the bottleneck. The client was. In this episode, where Kafka's speed actually comes from, the producer and consumer knobs that genuinely matter, why adding partitions can make you slower, and a method for tuning any workload without guessing. 9 concepts. Let's get into it. Here is the ticket that starts this story. The checkout events pipeline is falling behind on a sale day. Producers report rising send latency, consumers show growing lag, and the first proposal in the meeting is always the same: add brokers, add partitions, scale the cluster. Before anyone spends that money, look at what the clients are doing. The producer is running with default settings, which means it is sending tiny batches, sometimes one message per network request, because the default linger time is 0. The consumer is fetching small amounts frequently, committing after every record, and doing slow work inside its poll loop. The broker, meanwhile, is writing sequentially to disk and serving most reads from memory. It is barely working. This is the shape of most Kafka performance problems in the wild, a broker engineered for millions of messages per second, driven by clients configured for a demo. And here is the uncomfortable truth about tuning in general: every knob buys one thing by paying for another. Throughput, latency, and durability form a triangle. You can optimize for two, and the third pays the bill. Tuning is not finding magic settings. It is deciding, on purpose, which corner of that triangle your workload lives in. The rest of this episode gives you the map. First things first. Why Kafka is fast when you leave it alone. To tune a system, you need to know why it is fast in the first place. Kafka's speed rests on 3 design choices, and none of them are settings. First, the log. A partition is an append-only file. Writes always go to the end, reads mostly move forward, which means Kafka does sequential I/O, the one-axis pattern that even spinning disks are brilliant at, and modern SSDs are absurd at. There is no random seeking, no B-tree to update, no index to rebalance on write. Second, the page cache. Kafka does not manage its own data cache in the JVM heap. It writes to the operating system's page cache and lets the kernel handle memory. Recent messages, which is what most consumers are reading, are served straight from our AM without touching the disk at all. Third, zero copy. When a consumer fetches data, the broker can hand bytes from the page cache directly to the network socket, without copying them into application memory first. Data flows from cache to network card with the CPU barely involved. Put those together and a modest broker moves hundreds of megabytes per second while nearly idle. That is why the golden rule of Kafka tuning is, profile the clients first. The producer and consumer are where the defaults are conservative, and where almost all of your latent performance is hiding. The broker is usually the last thing to touch, not the first. Now for the biggest lever there is. Batching. If you remember one knob from this episode, make it this one. The producer does not send messages one at a time, it collects them into batches per partition, and the size of those batches is the single biggest factor in your throughput. 2 settings control it. Batch size is the ceiling. How many bytes a batch may hold? 16 kilobytes by default. Linger is the patience. How long the producer will wait for more messages before shipping a batch that is not yet full. And the default linger is 0. Think about what that means. With linger at 0, the producer ships as soon as it can, under light load, that is 1 or 2 messages per network request. Every request carries the same fixed overhead, headers, acknowledgement, a round trip. You are paying full freight to ship almost nothing. Now set linger to 5 milliseconds. The producer waits a beat, batches fill, and the same message volume moves in a fraction of the requests. Here is the counterintuitive part, and it wins interviews. Under real load, adding linger usually reduces end-to-end latency. The naive view says waiting 5 milliseconds adds 5 milliseconds. But fuller batches mean fewer requests, less queuing on the broker, and less contention everywhere, so the 99th percentile drops even though you added a deliberate pause. For throughput-heavy workloads, raise batch size to 128 kilobytes or more, and linger to 10 or 20 milliseconds, and watch the same cluster move 5 times the volume. This is free performance. The defaults simply do not assume you want it. Next, the knob that pays for itself. Compression. Compression in Kafka is a straight trade. Spend CPU cycles, which application servers usually have to spare, to save network bandwidth and disk, which under load you never have enough of. It is off by default, and turning it on is often a bigger win than any broker change you could make. The setting is compression type on the producer, and the practical choices are two. LZ4 when you care most about speed, it compresses and decompresses extremely fast with a decent ratio. Z standard when you want the best ratio for modest extra CPU, often shrinking JSON payloads by 5 to 10 times. gzip is generally dominated by Z standard now, and snappy by LZ4. Two facts make compression better than people expect. First, Kafka compresses whole batches, not individual messages. A batch of 500 similar JSON events is full of repeated keys and structure, which is exactly what compression algorithms feast on. This means compression and batching multiply each other, bigger batches from concept to make every compressed byte cheaper. Second, the batch usually stays compressed end-to-end. The broker writes the compressed batch to the log as is and hands it to consumers as is, so one compression on the producer pays off across network in, disk, replication, and network out. When does it not help? If your payloads are already compressed, images, video, encrypted blobs, you burn CPU to save nothing. For typical event streams of JSON or Avro, there is no excuse, turn it on. Concept 4 is where performance meets a business decision. Acknowledgements. The ACK setting decides what sent means, and it is the knob people abuse for speed at exactly the wrong moment. ACK 0 means fire and forget. The producer does not even wait to hear the message arrived. Fast and reckless, any broker hiccup silently loses data. ACK 1 means the partition leader wrote it, but if that leader dies before followers copy it, the message is gone. ACK all means the message is on the leader and every in-sync replica before the producer moves on. Combined with min in-sync replicas of 2, that is the setting where a broker can fail outright and you lose nothing. Here is the myth. Teams run ACK 1 for performance as a default. The real cost of ACK all is far smaller than its reputation. The producer pipelines many batches in flight, so it is not sitting idle waiting on each one, and replication happens in parallel. You pay some latency per batch, but throughput barely moves. What you buy is the difference between probably delivered and delivered provably. Whether that matters is not a performance question. For click events, ACK 1 may be a fine trade. For orders and payments, it never is. And alongside this, turn on the idempotent producer. It is the default in modern Kafka. It stamps each batch with a sequence number so retries cannot create duplicates, and it costs essentially nothing. Exactly one semantic starts here, for free. Choose your ACK level by asking what a lost message costs the business, then let the tuning follow the answer. Halfway. Now the knob everyone reaches for first and shouldn't. Partitions are Kafka's unit of parallelism. One partition can be consumed by exactly one consumer in a group, so the partition count caps how many consumers can share the work. That is real, and it is why partitions matter. But somewhere along the way, teams turn that into more partitions equals more performance, and that is false in both directions. Every partition you add has a cost. Each one is an open file and an in-memory index on the broker. Each one is a replication stream the followers must fetch. The producer keeps a separate in-flight batch per partition, so 1,000 partitions quietly multiplies producer memory, and worse, spreads the same message volume across more batches, making every batch smaller, which undoes the batching wins from concept 2. When a broker restarts, every partition it led needs a leader election. With tens of thousands of partitions, failover goes from seconds to minutes. And when a consumer joins or leaves a group, the rebalance cost scales with partition count too. So how many should you have? Work backwards from throughput. Measure what one consumer instance can process, say 50 megabytes per second. Divide your target peak by that number. Add comfortable headroom for growth and hotkeys, and that is your partition count. For most topics that lands between 6 and 30, not 600. Partitions are capacity planning, not a turbo button. Size them for the consumers you actually need, and spend your performance budget on batching where it pays. Concept 6. The consumer has knobs too, and one famous trap. Consumers have a mirror image of producer batching. Fetch min bytes tells the broker, do not answer my fetch until you have at least this much data, and fetch max wait caps how long it may hold the request. The defaults ask for 1 byte immediately, which means under light traffic your consumers hammer the broker with tiny fetches. Raise fetch min bytes to something meaningful, let the broker fill responses, and both sides do dramatically less work per megabyte. But the setting that actually pages people at 3 a.m. is a different pair, max poll records and max poll interval. Kafka considers a consumer alive only if it calls poll regularly. Max poll record says how many records one poll hands you, 500 by default. Max poll interval says how long you may go between polls, 5 minutes by default. Now do the arithmetic the defaults are begging you to do. If each record takes 1 second to process, 500 records takes over 8 minutes. You blow past the interval, Kafka declares you dead, kicks you from the group, and rebalances your partitions to someone else, who fetches the same 500 records and dies the same way. The group enters a rebalance loop, lag climbs, and the logs say only that members keep leaving. The fix is honest arithmetic. Max poll records times your worst case per record time must sit comfortably under max poll interval. Then commit offsets per batch, not per record. Committing is a broker round trip, and per record commits can halve your throughput on their own. The consumer's rule is the producer's rule again: fewer, fuller, calmer requests. Concept 7. The metric that tells you if any of this is working. Consumer lag is the distance between the last message written and the last message your group has processed. It is the single most important health metric in a Kafka system, and the most misread. Here is the misreading. Someone sees lag of 1 million and declares an incident. But 1 million messages of lag on a topic doing 100,000 messages a second is 10 seconds of work. The consumers will chew through it before the dashboard refreshes. Meanwhile, lag of 10,000 on a trickle topic might mean the consumer has been dead for an hour. The absolute number means almost nothing. Two readings mean everything. First, the trend. Is lag flat or growing? Flat lag, even a large flat lag, means you are keeping pace. Growing lag that never comes back down means consumption is slower than production, and no amount of waiting will fix it. That is a capacity problem, and it needs either faster processing per record, more consumer instances up to the partition count from concept 5, or a hard look at what the processing loop is doing per message. Second, time lag. How old is the newest message you have processed? Business people cannot reason about a million messages, but everyone can reason about the dashboard is 4 minutes behind reality. Alert on time lag and lag growth, not on absolute counts. You will page for real problems and sleep through harmless bursts. Lag is not a number to fear. It is the system telling you which side needs help. Concept 8. What actually matters on the broker, and the setting to never touch. Eventually the broker does matter, but not in the way tuning guides suggest. 3 things count, and one popular idea must be resisted. First, memory strategy. Remember that Kafka leans on the page cache. That means the worst thing you can do on a broker machine is give the JVM a giant heap. A 6 GB heap is plenty, and every gigabyte beyond it is a gigabyte stolen from the cache that actually serves your reads. It also means brokers should not share machines with memory-hungry neighbors who evict that cache. A broker with a warm page cache serves consumers from our AAM. A cold one hits disk for everything, and the difference is an order of magnitude. Second, disks and replication plumbing. Fast local NVMe storage, not network volumes, if you can choose. And if replicas fall behind on busy clusters, raise num replica fetchers so follower brokers copy data with more parallelism. Replication shares the same physics as consumers. Third, the thing not to do. Do not touch flush messages or flush MS to force writes to disk. It feels safer. Force every message to disk, and it destroys the sequential write performance the whole design is built on. Kafka's durability model does not come from f-syncing every message. It comes from replication. A message on 3 machines' page caches is far safer than a message f-synced to one dying disk. Let the OS flush on its schedule, let replication carry durability, and the broker will stay the least of your problems. Last one. How to tune without guessing, and how to answer this in an interview. Everything so far is knowledge. This concept is the discipline that makes it useful. First, baseline before you touch anything. Kafka ships with the perf test tools, Kafka Producer Perf Test and Kafka Consumer Perf Test, which will tell you, in one command, what your cluster and your config can actually do. Megabytes per second, average latency, 99th percentile. Run them with your real message size, because a benchmark at 100 bytes says nothing about your 4 kilobyte orders. Second, change one knob, rerun, compare. It is slower than changing 5 things, and it is the only way to know which change mattered. 5 changes at once that improve things by 20% teaches you nothing and leaves 4 superstitions in your config. Third, match the recipe to the workload, because there is no best config, only best for. Throughput pipelines, analytics, log shipping, CDC, won't linger around 20 milliseconds, batch size in the hundreds of kilobytes, Z standard compression, acts all with idempotence. Latency-sensitive paths, fraud checks, user-facing actions, want small linger, LZ4, and modest fetch weights. Durability-critical topics, payments, orders, fix AXOL and min in-sync replicas to first, then tune within that constraint. In an interview, this triangle is the answer that lands. Name the 3 currencies, ask which one the workload spends, and only then name settings. Anyone can recite linger and batch size. Framing tuning as a deliberate trade, that is what reads as experience. That's Kafka performance tuning without the folklore. The broker is fast by design. The wins live in your clients, batch fuller, compressed batches, Choose facts like the business decision it is, size partitions for consumers rather than vanity. Keep the poll loop honest, and watch lag as a trend. Baseline, one knob at a time, remeasure. If this saved you a broker migration, the full Kafka series is on the channel. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.